Namaskar. Welcome to this introduction to Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with gratitude towards the Lord, through whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara, through which this knowledge is preserved, transmitted for generations to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and share this understanding with you. Start with a prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So Bhagavad Gita is a divine song from none other than Lord Krishna. It is not created by a human being, and it is said in such a way that it's gay. That's why it's called Gita. It's a beautiful dialogue between two friends who have been living together for so many years, Lord Krishna and Arjuna, amidst the battlefield of Mahabharata. It comprises of 700 shlokas out of 100,000 shlokas, 1 lakh shlokas of Mahabharata. And it is compiled in 18 adhyayas by none other than Ved Vyasa. And it is considered to be the summary of the Upanishada or the Vedanta. And I'm making a humble attempt to summarize this in one session by the grace of Lord Krishna. So why should we learn Gita Ji? It grants us what all we yearn for: success. Yes, the definition could be different for different people, but all our life is full of struggles, and we need to find solutions to all this sangharsha. And Gita Ji shows us this upaya, the solution to these problems of our life. It gives us the ever happiness, the ever peace, ever fearlessness that we all desire. And it's a complete guide to our life, all the situations for our life. And it helps us overcome the moha, attachments, and the sorrow, shok, pain, miseries, and all these afflictions. It comprises in 3 parts. It's called the 3 Shatakas. The first 6 adhyayas are predominantly devoted to karma. Karma Pradhan, of course, there is so much of Gnana also in the second adhyaya, but it is predominantly related to karma. Tvam Pada Viveka. Tvam is the Jiva. When the Guruji says Tvam, it means Aham, the Jiva. And it tells us, makes us inquiry our internal journey, who am I? The second 6 adhyayas, starting from the 7th to the 12th adhyayas, are predominantly devoted to Bhakti, Bhakti Pradhan, and it also is Tat Pada Viveka. Tat is Paramatma Pada. Paramatma Pada is the Tat Tvam Asi. When we say Tat stands for Paramatma, Tvam stands for Jiva. And this is the Tat Padartha, who's Viveka. Who is the Lord? How can we devote to the Lord? Is all said in the next 6 adhyayas. And the final 6 adhyayas, starting from the 13th to the 18th adhyayas, are knowledge Pradhana. Means they are mainly devoted to knowledge, the Aikya Gnana between the Tvam and the Tat Pada, Jiva and the Ishvara Aikya, that is the Upanishada. So it starts with a Dhyana Shloka. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavatam Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvam Anusandadam Bhagavati Gite Bhavatveshinim. It means Om stands for the supreme name of the divinity. It is a teaching for the Parth Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us, the Jiva. It is said by none other than Lord Sri Narayana, whose avatar is Lord Krishna, created by Ved Vyas, also who created the Puranas, which is included within the Mahabharata, and which gives the message of Aikya, Advaitam, Amruta Vaishrini, like nectar. It is like Bhagavati, consisting of 18 chapters. It's like a mother. And I'm trying to learn this Gita Ji, trying to understand this Gita Ji, which will destroy all my miseries and sorrows of my life. So Bhagavad Gita, the first adhyaya is the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which is the background of the entire teachings. The second adhyaya is the Sankhya Yoga, which is the Gnana Updesha, where there is a lot of Karma Yoga, also Karma Updesha, and there is a summary of many subjects of Gita Ji. And finally, from the 3rd to the 17th adhyaya is all the Vistara, all the description of all the subjects. Finally, 18th adhyaya is again the summary. So it is Sankshepa, Vistara and Sankshepa. That is the way Vedanta or Upanishads is already revealed. The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is both Preya Purushartha as well as Shreya Purushartha. As you know, there are four Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. The Dharma, Artha, and Kama are called the Preya Purushartha, which keep us in this material life, whereas the Moksha is a Shreya Purushartha, which takes us away from this material world, transcend us through into the divine world. So, if we consider the Preya Purushartha, our material life, if somebody says, I'm not interested in moksha, even then Bhagavad Gita gives us a different worldview with a different understanding. It tells us how we should do our actions, with what wisdom we should do our actions. It tells us who is Ishvara and how can we connect to the God by devotion. It helps us to mature our own mind to take adequate decisions and gives us complete peace of mind with concentration, and ultimately purifies our mind, makes us personality a beautiful personality. So these are all the material benefits that we get. It helps us relieve all our shoka, nivrutti. The first, the teaching of the Lord starts with Ashocyanan Vashochastvam. You are feeling sad for one which is not worth it, and ends with Ma Shuchaha in the 18th Adhyaya. Do not grieve, Arjun. So it means that this Adhyaya, the Gita Ji, is for Shok Nivrutti. Also, the first Adhyaya, Arjuna gets moha when he sees all his swajana. Rashtvemam swajanam Krishna. He says he develops moha, and finally in the 18th Adhyaya, Arjuna says, Nashta moha, my moha has been destroyed, oh Krishna. And that's why Gita Ji also helps us for moha nivrutti. But finally, the main purpose, the tatparya of Gita Ji is moksha. It is also called a moksha shastra. It helps us transcend from all these limitations of our worldly afflictions and leads us to eternal freedom by understanding our real self, the Atma Tattva, our own real understanding, my own real introduction. It helps me to get this Atma Jnana, who am I? It helps me to understand that I am not this beyond this body, what is seen, but I am that whole, the Paripurna, Purna Madah, Purna Midam, Sarvam Khaluvidam Brahma. I am that Brahma who is the eternal consciousness. I am one with that. It helps me to realize this. And with this, I attain the freedom, the moksha. In Gita Ji, Bhagavan calls this Parampada, Paramdham, moksha. Many words have been given for this kind of, which helps me to relieve of all my worldly afflictions, pain, misery, janam, punar janam, again birth, death, and all my afflictions are relieved. So Gita Ji tells us what is our goal in life. All the Vedanta and the Upanishad and all the Shastras tell us that the ultimate goal of human life is to obtain moksha, forever liberation from all our limitations. But we mortals cannot go there directly. We have to go to the first step, and the first step is the Antakarana Shuddhi, the purity of our inner mind, our inner self. And this is very essential before we embark on this knowledge journey or Atma Jnana. And by this Atma Jnana or Brahma Vidya, which is the knowledge of the self or knowledge of the Brahman, the eternal consciousness, we understand that we are same with this eternal consciousness. I'm not just this body, this mind, this limited soul, Jivatma, that I think I am, but I am that eternal consciousness. And this is the understanding that I will get by Gita Ji. Gita Ji also tells us the means to reach to this goal, the sadhan, the yoga sadhana, or the way I can do this yoga sadhana. And predominantly 3 sadhanas are described in Gita Ji: the karma yoga, the bhakti yoga, and the jnana yoga. The first 6 adhyayas are devoted to karma yoga, how we can unite to the Lord by our own karma, our own actions, and this is called the path of action. Bhakti yoga is union with the Lord with our devotion. Bhakti, the path of worship. And Jnana Yoga is union with the divinity, with our knowledge of our own Atman, the knowledge of the universal consciousness, and this is the Jnana Yoga. But Gita Ji also does not distinguish clearly the Karma Yoga and the Bhakti Yoga separately. In Gita Ji, Karma Yoga also includes Bhakti, and Bhakti Yoga includes Karma, and both of these are together. So essentially there are 2 paths, the Pravrutti Marga and the Nivrutti Marga, according to the Lord Krishna. So let us start with the first Adhyaya, which is called the Arjuna Vishada Yoga, which is the background of the battle and the background of the teaching. It determines or shows the psychology of both the sides of each person, Duryodhana, Arjuna, and all these people. It also helps me to understand my own mind, where I need to improve. And essentially it tells us that Arjuna is struggling. He has his own attachments because seeing his swajana, his own people, he gets mamakara attachment. And with this attachment, he gets into bondage. That's why this Adhyaya tells us who is the Adhikari, the candidate for this Atmagnana, the person who is confused, undecided, who has many struggles in the life. All of us essentially are the Adhikaris for this kind of knowledge. And Arjuna is the person who develops attachment. Duryodhana, even though he is on the adharma path, but does not develop this. He has his ahankara. He does not have this attachment, and that's why Arjuna is the candidate for this Atmagnana, not Duryodhana. Summarize the first Adhyaya. In the first 11 shlokas, Bhagavan, there is description of both the armies, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and then in the next 8 shlokas, there is the both the armies, Pandavas, starting from Rishikesha, Krishna. They blow their respective conches, and that signifies that the battle is now already begun. The next, Arjuna wants to observe the Kaurava army, and he tells Krishna to take his Ratha, his chariot, in the middle of the battlefield, and he wants to observe who all I'm going to fight with. By that time, he already carried the Gandiva and was ready to fight. And when Krishna takes the chariot to the center of the battlefield and tells Arjuna, Pashya Kurun, see all your Kauravas, he says, and then and there, Arjuna gets into moha, gets into attachment, seeing all his relatives, and that is how he gets into sorrow, Vishada. He tries to justify that he doesn't want to fight this war with his own cousins. He develops moha, attachment. He is become very, very shoka, despair, and he sits at the back of the chariot saying, I don't want to fight. So the first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita starts with Dhritarashtra. He says, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. So Dharma Kshetra is Dharma Yuddha. So Kurukshetra is the name of the battlefield where this battle was fought. And Dhritarashtra says, Mamaka, what are Maya and Pandu's sons doing? Wants to know, and that itself shows that Dhritarashtra is the moha, that was the root cause of all this battle which happened because the Pandavas were done injustice, and that's why this Dharma Yuddha had to be created. Essentially, the Mahabharata battle is an allegory of what happens, what continues in our mind. It is a battle between the Daivi and the Asuri Sampatti. The Asuri Sampatti are the Swachhanda, or those kind of thoughts which are based on desires, anger and greed, where I do what I want to do, where I feel like slave to my mind. I don't do what I don't like to do, and in the moment I'll get immediate happiness, but in the process I'll disturb others and damage the nature also. Whereas Daivi Sampatti are the ones which are moral values, the ethical values, which are because of the control over my mind, which being kind, compassionate, acceptance, morality, honesty, simplicity. Bhagavan tells us in Gita Ji, many of these Daivi Sampattis, which will not disturb others, which will not damage the natures. It may be difficult in the early part, but later on it will give me an inner bliss or an inner happiness. And essentially this battle keeps on happening inside our mind, and that is what Mahabharata battle signifies. So the first Adhyaya starts with Dhritarashtra's opening statement, and then in the 10th shloka, as we say, the Aparyaptam Tadasmakam shows Duryodhana how he is fearful, he is overconfident, and then Arjuna wants to take the chariot to the battlefield, the center, where Krishna puts it there, and then after seeing Arjuna develops a Vishada. Finally, in the final shloka of the first Adhyaya, Arjuna goes to the backside of the chariot and takes down his Gandiva, puts it down his bows and arrow, and then Shoka Samvigna Manasa Sasharan Chapam, he puts down his arrow, and with a lot of misery, he sits down in the back of the chariot, and that's the end of the first Adhyaya. Now let's start the second Adhyaya. The second Adhyaya is called the Sankhya Yoga. It is a long Adhyaya consisting of 72 shlokas, but it's a very beautiful Adhyaya because a lot of all the Atmagnana, the Brahmagnana and Karma Yoga, a lot of these descriptions are beautiful. Siddha Prajna descriptions are given. It starts with Sanjaya's opening statement, and then Krishna starts telling Arjuna, Klebhyam Masma Gamah Partha, stop being coward, Arjuna. And it says, how did you get it? Kashmalamidam, Kutastva Kashmalamidam. How did you get this kind of Kashmala, this impurity in your mind? And then uses some harsh words, Klebhyam Masma Gamah Partha, he says. And Arjuna gives many excuses, does not want to fight the war. But finally, in the 7th shloka, he surrenders to Krishna, accepts Shishyatva, disciplehood of Krishna, makes him the teacher and says, Shadimam Tvam Prapannam, tell me what is good for me. I don't know, I've come to your shelter. And then Arjuna reiterates his faith, and Sanjaya then says, Arjuna is sitting down saying, "Na Yodse, I don't want to fight." And Krishna smilingly, he starts his life message to Arjuna. So the 11th shloka of the second adhyaya is where Krishna starts his life message to all the jivas through Arjuna, making him the adhikari. Ashocyanand vashochastvam pragnavadanshcha bhashase gatasuna gatasunshcha nanu shochanti panditaha. You are feeling sad, Arjuna, for something that is not worth it, and you still speak like a pandit, wise man. For those who have left us, those whose bodies have left us, and those who are still with us, wise man, do not feel sorrow, do not have this sorrow, he says. And then he describes all this Atma, Atma Tattva, the indestructible, omnipresent Atma, and how it is different from Anatma. This Vivek he makes from the Paramarthic angle, and then from the worldly angle also he shows this Viveka, discrimination, and then gives the Dharma Updesha, Kartavya Karma, then starts the Karma Yoga message, Eshate Bihitam Sankhye, Sama Sukhe Dukhe Samakrutva, and then shows the Nishkam Karma, then shows the people who are already there in the Sakam Karma. So those who are already there in this, how they carry out their actions, shows the ultimate goal of life, and then gives the important messages. Karmanyevadikaraste, 47 shloka is the Karma Yoga Updesha, criticizes the selfish person, shows different aspects of Karma Yoga, and then gives the highest attainment of life. What is the highest goal of life? So he says, Na jayate miryate va kadachita. This Atma is never born, it never dies, it is never produced, never comes into existence, it is always Nitya, and it remains the same always. Even then when the body is killed, this Atma is not killed. And then he says about the body, about the death of the body, in the Lord's view, how it is like an event. It's just like shedding off old clothes and wearing new clothes. Bhagavan says, Vasansi jiranani yatha vihaya. Just like a person sheds off his old clothes and navani granhati naroparani, wears new clothes. Similarly, he says, the Jivatma sheds off vihaya jiranani sharirani, old clothes, and anyani sanyati navani dehi. It enters new body. This Jivatma keeps on changing the body. That's what Bhagavan tells us. And then he says, Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka. This Atma cannot be destroyed by weapons, cannot be burned by fire, cannot be soaked by water, cannot be dried by the wind. And he says, everything else, whatever is Anatma, whatever is his body, whatever is his Anitya, one which is born, this body is always destined to die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mrutasya cha. Whatever is died is sure to be reborn. He says, for this purpose also, with this understanding also, you don't have sorrow for people who have gone or people who are going to go away one day. And then he says, this Atma Tattva, everything is a wonder. Ashcharyavat paschati kashchidenam ashcharyavat vadati tathaiva chanya. Everything is wonder. People who describe it is wonder. People who listen to it is wonder. And a few people who listen to it but even don't know it, that is also wonder, Bhagavan says. And then the 47th shloka describes the four main pillars of Karma Yoga. It's a central message of Gita ji. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbuhu mate sangostva karmani. He says, Karmani eva adhikaraste, means your choice, your right is always only in action. Ma phaleshu kadachana, not in the fruits of the action. Ma karma phala heturbuhu, do your action so that it does not bind you, Arjun. Mate sangostva karmani, don't run away from action, don't become a karma, don't become lazy, don't get into inaction. The central message of Gita ji is that from our own karma, whatever we are doing, our own activities, our daily karma, we have to start doing it with a better attitude as a karma yoga, and then to go towards a jnana, the real understanding. From inaction, we have to start towards action. Don't become lazy. From akarma, say karma. And then according to dharma karma, according to shastra vihita karma, duty-based or value-based kartavya karma. And then from this sakama karma, we have to then gradually migrate towards nishkama, selfless karma, which is the central message of karma yoga. And then ishwararpana bhavana, surrender to the God. Palme samatva buddhi, all these are aspects of karma yoga. Prasada buddhi, acceptance of the result. Softening our likes, dislikes, the raga, dvesha, shitirikaran. Finally achieving the purity of the mind, antakarana shuddhi. And then after this, the final message of the Lord is Traigunya Vishaya Vedanis, Traigunya Bhavarjuna. Rise above all these three gunas, rise above these dualities of life. Nirdvandvo, Nitya Sattvasto. Be always in the Sattva, Devi Sampatti, Niryoga Kshema. Don't be away from the stress of achieving yoga and Kshema, protecting whatever is your achievement. And then Atmavan Bhava. Be proactive, be confident, be courageous, be patient, persistent, and enthusiastic. Atmavan means our own Atma Krupa has to be there if we want to achieve something in our life. Finally, the last 18 shlokas of the second Adhyaya are called the Sthita Prajna Prakarana, which shows us the vision of the wise person, the Sthita Prajna, who is deeply rooted in wisdom. For the seeker, these 18 shlokas are important because they show us the goal, helps us to do introspection, and shows us the milestones where we have to reach. And it's ultimate knowledge, the fullness of the knowledge, Paripurna Avastha of this Sthita Prajna, Gnani Purush, Mahapurush, and it comes with an internal attitude due to the right understanding, the right knowledge, which helps us to develop complete acceptance of all worldly situations without complaining and ever peace of our mind. So this Sthita Prajna Prakarana starts with Arjuna's question, and Bhagavan describes 4 questions Arjuna asks for Sthita Prajna. What is his bhasha, attributes? How does it speak? What is his response? How does it sit? Meaning what is his mind? How does he control his mind? And how does he walk? Rajeta, meaning what is his conduct in this world? And Bhagavan answers, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanugatan. When all the desires are given up, this is the person who becomes a Sthita Prajna. Desires is the root cause of all maladies, because it is from desires everything starts. And that person, Atmanyeva Atmanatushtaha, is happy with his own self, Atma Swarupa, does not rely on the outside sense pleasures or outside objects. Dukheshvanu Manu Dvigna Manaha is quite samatva, even in grief or sorrow is not agitated. Sukheshu Vigatas Pruhaha, he does not have any attachment, longing for happiness or joy. Vita Raga Bhaya Krodaha, his attachments is gone, his bhaya is gone, his krodha is gone. That is a person who is a Sthita Dhir Muni Ruchyate, that is a Sthita Muni, Sthita Prajna Muni. And then Bhagavan gives an example of turtle, Kurbungani Sarvashaha, says Yada Samharate Chayam, as the turtle withdraws all its limbs into its shell. Similarly, a Sthita Prajna Mahapurush withdraws all his Indriya, sense organs, from the sense objects, and then only he can attain this firm wisdom. This is the message of Indriya Sanyama, which is the beginning of our spiritual journey. Only with the Sajakta, awareness in our day-to-day endeavors, only with the self-restraint on our mind, and only with the understanding that Bhagavan gives us in Gita Ji, we can live or attain this kind of status. And then Bhagavan shows us the 8 steps to ruining our life. He says, Dhyayato Vishayan Punsaha. We start with thinking about the objects which will give me happiness from the outer objects. Sangasteshu Upajayate, gets an attraction or attachment to these objects. Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha. With this attachment, we develop desire to obtain these objects. Kamat Krodho Vijayate. And with this desire, if it is not fulfilled, we develop anger. And Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, anger turns into delusion. Sammohat Spruti Vibramaha. With this delusion, Moha, the Spruti, our memory, whatever we have heard good things, it is lost. Spruti Branchad Buddhinasho. With this, our intellect is destroyed, and with this, Buddhinashat Pranashati, we cease to become a person, we become inhuman and work as a not befitting a human being. And then final 2 shlokas, Bhagavan shows us again the goal in the second Adhyaya. The first is Vihaya Kamanya Sarvan. We should leave all our binding desires. Pumans Charati Nispruhaha. Without longing or attachment, we should live. Nirmama, without attachment. Nirahankara, without pride. Mamakar and Ahankar, these are our true greatest maladies that Bhagavan tells us in Gita Ji, oft again and again repeatedly. Only with this, when we give away this Tyaga, Ahankara and Mamakara, then Sashanti Madhigachati, we become eternally blissful or peaceful. And then Bhagavan shows us a final goal, Esha Brahmistiti Partha Nainam Prapya Mimugati. This Brahma Swarupa we can attain when there is no going back, and only when we attain this before the end of our life, we can attain moksha, liberation, Brahma Nirvana Mruchati. Bhagavan says, with this we come to the end of the second Adhyaya. Let us start the summary of the third Adhyaya. So third Adhyaya talks about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is doing our same actions. We don't have to change our actions. Bhagavan tells us, do your action, but with a lot of skill in the action and in the results. So essentially, we have to change our attitude towards our action, karma, and the fruits of the results that we obtain from this karma, what is called as a karma phala. The opening question of Arjuna was, what should I do, Bhagavan? You told me karma updesha and Sthita Prajna updesha. What should I do? Whether should I do karma or whether should I become nivrutta and become a sannyasi? Bhagavan tells his Lokesmin Dvividha Nishta Pura Prokta Manayanaga Gnana Yogena Sankhyanam Karma Yogena Yoginam. He shows two lifestyles. One is the Karma Yoga, second is the Sannyasa Yoga. In Karma Yoga, the main is the Grihastha, which is, Bhagavan says, Karma Phala Tyaga is the main purpose, whereas in Sannyasa, all the Karma Tyaga is the Nivrutti Parayana Dharma. So attitudes of Karma Yoga essentially are Dharma Karma, Kartavya Karma, Ishwararpana Bhavana, surrender, don't compromise with our life principles, acceptance of all the Karma Phala by Svikara Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi, and more the acceptance, more is our peace of mind, making use of our own karma to liberate us from the karma and doing our best action and be prepared for any result which Bhagavan is going to give us. So 4 attitudes Bhagavan describes: attitude of duty or the debt, attitude of yagna buddhi, prasada buddhi, and then finally dharma buddhi or srushti chakra, how the cosmic cycle goes on. And the benefits of karma yoga is that our mindset becomes changed from scarcity to abundance. From selfish, we become more selfless, we become more udara, more large-hearted, work with and out of happiness in all the work that we do. It maintains a rhythm and balance of our life, satisfies us with our life, gives us inner peace and purity of the mind, and most important, makes us eligible for this Atma Jnana and Moksha. So with this, we come to the end of the 3rd Adhyaya. So let us start the 4th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Gnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, how we can renounce renunciation of action by the knowledge. In the initial shlokas, Bhagavan talks about imam, the yoga, imam vivasvate yogam, proktamava vanavam avyayam. It is a very ancient yoga, Bhagavan says, shows all the incarnations, karma yoga, talks about gnani, and then talks about the 12 yagnas and shows the importance of jnana. He says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Whenever there is decay of dharma and whenever there is abhyutthanam dharmasya, where there is rise of a dharma, he says, Tadatmanam sujamyaham, there and there I manifest. So when, how and when God incarnates, takes a form on this earth, Bhagavan says, Paritranaya sadhunam, to protect and nurture the dharmi, vinashaya chadushrutam, to destroy the dharmis, dharma sanstapanarthaya, to re-establish the dharma. Sambhavami yuge yuge, Bhagavan says, I incarnate. It doesn't say I am born, it says I incarnate, I pragat, I manifest whenever needed, and this is how God incarnates. Bhagavan describes that it is not easy to understand this karma phala cycle, kahana karmano gati, he says. He says it is important to understand karmana api bodhavyam, whatever to do, whatever are our actions, it is worth knowing. Vikarma, akarma, whatever is not doing, worth doing. What is actionlessness, also worth doing. Most important, he says, Gahana Karmano Gati, our action is very difficult to understand. And then he describes the 12 yagna, starting from Brahma yagna, finally going to the Gnana yagna, Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmana Utam, Brahmaivatena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhina. He says how we can have Brahma Buddhi. Everywhere we can see this oneness, this Brahma, everywhere. In all the yagna offerings offered, one who offers, all the actions, everywhere we can see this Brahma. And finally he says, Sarva karma khilam partha gnane parisamapyate. All the karmas, everything ultimately ends in knowledge. And that is the goal, that we have to dissolve our pride, our aham karomi, that arrogance, our ego, ahankara, which binds us to karmas that have to be given up. Karmas don't have to be given up. We have to endure all the karma phalas. But it is the knowledge which releases us primarily from all these karmas, and it is destroyed in the fire of knowledge. Bhagavan tells us that Gnana Yagna is the best. He praises knowledge always in Gita Ji, that karma is very important, yes, but Gnana is also the most important to reach moksha. And how we can achieve or understand this knowledge, Bhagavan says, Tadvidvi pranipatena. You understand this knowledge by pranipatena, bow down to a Mahapurusha, Guruji. And only with this Guruji who tells you the Updesha of Vedanta, Upanishadas, Gita Ji, you will be able to pariprashnena, by asking questions to the Guruji, and sevaya, by service to the Guruji, Guru Seva. Only with this you are eligible to have this Atma Jnana. Coming to the 5th Adhyaya, which is called the Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Initially, Bhagavan again describes the difference of Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, all the attributes, then talks about Gnana Yoga, Karma Sannyasa. And finally, the 3 shlokas which lead to the 6th Adhyaya, which is the Dhyana Yoga. So in the first opening question of Arjuna in the 5th Adhyaya, he asks whether he should do Karma Yoga or he should go for Sannyasa. He's still not decided. Arjuna is still confused. He is not able to decide whether he should fight the war or he should go and take sannyasa. So he says, you praise both sannyasa and karma yoga, out of which one is beneficial? Please tell me, O Krishna. Bhagavan says, he praises karma yoga, but he says both are important, both are good, both lead to upliftment. But out of the two, he says karma yoga vishishyate. Karma yoga is superior than renunciation. Bhagavan says, because here Arjuna is adhikari, we all jiva are the adhikari. For all of us, karma yoga is the best way to purify ourselves, so that then we can go to Gnana Yoga. But Bhagavan tells us the true vision. He says, only with Gnana you can achieve moksha. Yat Sankhya prapyate sthanam tad yogai api gamyate. Whatever the state you achieve by knowledge, the same state you can achieve by Karma Yoga. Both leads to the same state, and this is the real vision, this is the real understanding. Bhagavan says, only wise people have this kind of a samatva drashti, where they see oneness in everyone, Brahmana, a cow, elephant, dog, outcast. In all this, the wise people have a samatva drashti. I mean, they don't have a samatva in vyavahara, because they know that this is a cow, this is an elephant, this is a dog, and this is a Brahmin or an outcast. But their drashti, they see that same Brahma Tattva pervades everything, and that is the drashti that they have, the wise people. And this is the true vision according to Gita Ji, according to Lord Krishna, Sarvatra Samatva Darshana, which only comes with the true victory over oneself by an inner engineering, does not get affected by any worldly situations. We achieve the ultimate happiness, the eternal bliss. For the seeker, it is a part of the journey, avoiding undue giving importance to worldly things and being equipoised. And this is the central message of Gita Ji. And the entire spiritual journey is for this, obtaining this kind of samatva. The sixth adhyaya is a very beautiful adhyaya. It talks about dhyana yoga, atma sanyama yoga, how we can create self-restraint over our body, mind, indriya, chitta, ahankara, sanyama. And this is only possible that we can do meditation. And this is not possible without having this self-restraint or mind restraint. So adhyaya 2, 3, 4, 5, Bhagavan talked about karma yoga, gnana yoga, shravana. But now how to assimilate that knowledge in our daily life? For this, the Vedantic meditation, nididhyasana, how to atmasada this. So that is very important. Whatever we have heard, shravana, whatever are the viparyayas, the viparit sanskaras in our mind, and this has to be given up by dhyana, and body and mind has to become quiet. So summary of the sixth adhyaya starts with comparison of the karma yogi with the sannyasi. Bhagavan talks about the yogarudha person, what is the attributes of the yukta yogi, and shows who is the samatva yogi. And in the third shloka of the sixth adhyaya, Bhagavan comes to the end of Arjuna's dilemma, whether to do karma or whether to do sannyasa, whether to go for pravrutti marg or whether to go for nivrutti marga. He gives his final shloka. He says, Arurukshor muner yogam karma karana uchyate. One who is a seeker, who desires to ascend on this path of yoga, Aruruksho, who wants to ascend on this path of yoga, for him, karma yoga is the means. But one, yoga arudhasya tasyaiva, one who has already established, become perfect in yoga, for them, shama karana uchyate, for them, nivrutti shama, and karma nivrutti dhyana or nivrutti marg, sannyasa is the means to attain the end. Bhagavan says, and then he describes who is that yogarudha person. He gives three attributes: yadahi nindriyartheshu, one who is not attracted to sense objects, indriya sanyama, na karma swanushajyate, one who is not attached to actions, and sarva sankalpa sannyasi, one who renounces all the worldly desires, who has the control over the mind. So if one has these three attributes, then that person is called yogarudha. For that person only there is shama karana uchyate, Bhagavan says. Otherwise everybody else has to do karma yoga. And then Bhagavan says we have to make efforts to become yogarudha. It's not that Bhagavan is going to just give us his grace and we can become yogarudha. Bhagavan says, uddharet atmanatmanam, elevate yourself by your own self, by your own efforts. Natmanam avsadayet, don't let yourself down by your negative thoughts. Atmaiva yatmano bandhuhu, you are your own friend and you can be your own enemy. And the next shloka, Bhagavan tells us how we can be our own friend and we can be our own enemy. Bhagavan says, one who has this achieved victory over his own body, mind and intellect, that person, mind, he becomes a friend of that person. Whereas one who does not have this kind of self-restraint, Bhagavan says, mind becomes one's own enemy. So that is then summarizes the dhyana yoga. What are the important instructions for dhyana? Talks about what is that level of meditation, and yoga talks about yoga samadhi. So in the next 7 shlokas, Bhagavan talks about many aspects of meditation, how we should do, how we should sit, where we should focus, how should we concentrate. All these he talks about by keeping our mind in control without expectations or desires, by Nirashi, Niparigraha. He talks about 2-step process of meditation, Nispruha, Sarva Kamebhyo, take away all our desires, thoughts from Anatma, and Atmani eva avatishtate, put them in our Atma Tattva, our Paramatik Swarupa. And this is only possible, Bhagavan says, by Vairagya, by letting go, and by Abhyasa, repeated constant practice. And then he describes the climax of meditation and gives an attachment or upama with a lighted lamp. Yathadipo nivatasto ningate sopamasputa. Just like a lighted lamp which is placed in a place where there is not much air, does not waver, it is absolutely sthir. So a yogi, by his control, yogino yata chittasya, yogi by control of his mind, yunjate yogamatmana, keeps meditating, does not waver on the self or in the Atma. And then what this yogi benefits, he feels his inner bliss, which is much more superior to the sense pleasures. Bhagavan says he gets atyantik sukha, sukham atyantika yadgraha, achieves his eternal bliss, which is experienced in his own purified mind intellect. Vetri yatrana chayvayam cannot be achieved by sense organs. One who knows this state of happiness does not waver from this state. And Bhagavan says, gives us solace that shanai shanai ruparame, this progress happens very, very slowly. You keep trying because you slowly withdraw your mind and put it in your Atma Tattva, and without thinking of anything else, just keep doing this. And Bhagavan says there will be lots of problems. The mind wanders, keeps wandering. It's very common experience of all of us that the mind is very agile, unsteady, and for whatever reasons, Bhagavan says it goes out. Tatas tato niyamyai tata atmanyai vasham nayet. From there, get hold of it and let it come back and put back in your Atma Tattva. And this is how we should keep meditating unless we see this Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam, how we can see Atma in all the beings, Sarva Bhuta, how can we see one in the many? Bhagavan says, Sarva Bhutani Chatmani, sees all the beings in the Atma. When we get this kind of a vision, that is the vision of the Yukta Yogi, after Jnana Sarvatra Samadarshana, Bhagavan has already said, this is the Mahavakya Updesha of the Upanishad. And with this, that person is extremely compassionate, Atma Paumyena Sarvatra, sees his own self everywhere, feels the pain and pleasures of everyone around. Such a yogi is the greatest, Bhagavan says, in my opinion. But then Arjuna thinks that mind is very agile, it is very chanchala. Hey Krishna, chanchala mimana Krishna, pramati balavatudam. It is very powerful, very obstinate. Tasyam nigraha manya, vayuriva sudushkaram. To control this is very difficult, just like controlling Vayu, controlling the wind, he says. And Bhagavan says, yes, Atsanshaya Mahabhav. Hey Krishna, hey Arjun. He says mind is restless, definitely, but he says manodugram nikchalam, but it can be controlled. It is unsteady, it is difficult, but by abhyasa yena tu kaunteya vairagyena chakruyata, it shows abhyasa is one and vairagya. These are the two ways you can control the mind. And then Arjuna asks the second question, what is the gati of the person who does not become successful when he carries out his yoga, does not reach to this pinnacle of success or perfection? He says, what happens to that person? If he dies on the way to obtaining this yoga, Bhagavan says, gives us solace and says, hey Partha, he says, oh my Tat, don't worry, gives solace and says that nothing on this spiritual path goes in vain. Naiveham namutra vinashastya vidyate, nothing goes in vain. He says, whatever little you do, you get the benefit, because this punya samskara will carry with you towards the next janama, even if your body dies. And with this, we come to the end of the 6th adhyaya, the first Shataka, which talks about the Jiva, the Twampad, or the Karma Pradhan. Now we start the 7th Adhyaya, 7 to 12th Adhyaya again are the Ishwara, Tat and Bhakti Pradhana Adhyaya, where it talks about the 7th Adhyaya is called the Gnana Vijnana Yoga, and Bhagavan initially describes this Gnana Vijnana Prakriti and brief description of the Vibhutis, talks about the Maya, Moho and the Asuri Bhav, talks about the Devata and the Karma Phala Data, and then finally the real Swarupa, Tattvic Swarupa of the Lord. So from the 7th Adhyaya, the Bhakti is the Pradhana Sadhana. It is the important means for purifying, for elevating our emotions and connecting to the Almighty Lord. And Bhakti essentially means nothing but love for the Lord, respect and reverence for the Lord, and not just normal love and respect, but the highest love and respect with a firm, unwavering faith in the Lord, with understanding and with knowledge. And that's why Guruji tells us to learn bhakti only from a devotee And faith is the essence of bhakti, which is an important sadhana for our liberation to Atma Gnana. Bhakti is not the end goal, it is actually a sadhana, it is the means to achieve our end goal, which is the Gnana. So who is the Lord? We need to understand. In the Gita Ji, Bhagavan Krishna talks from three perspectives as a Lord. One is the Saguna Sakara, Avatar Swarupa of the Lord, like Rama, Krishna, etc. So that is from one perspective, from standpoint that Bhagavan talks. The second standpoint from which Bhagavan talks in Gita Ji is the Ishvara, the Nimitta Upadana Karana of the universe, from whom this entire universe comes and from whom it merges. And this can be devoted by the Vibhuti or the Virat Swarupa, by the Antaryami, one who resides within, whose glory, whose grace is always there. And finally, the Nirgun Nirakar, or the Tattvik Swarupa of the Lord, which is the formless Chaitanya Swarupa, Atma Swarupa, or universally it's also called the Brahma Swarupa, Brahma. All these denotes the same thing, denotes. And this is the consciousness, which is also called the Sat Chit and the Ananda Swarupa of the Lord. Sometimes Bhagavan talks from this when he talks very contradictory, because this Swarupa is something which cannot be described in words, and that's why Vedas and Upanishads use very contradictory words to describe the Nirgun, Nirakar, Atma Swarupa, and those shlokas are also there in Bhagavad Gita. So Bhagavan is trying to tell us that Matta Parataram Nanyat Kittit Asti Dhananjaya, hey Dhananjaya, there is behind all the names and forms, you should try to see me, there is nothing other than me to be known in this world. And he gives a very beautiful analogy. He says, Sutre Manigana Iva, just like all the beads are woven in a string, everything is woven unto me. He says, our focus, our drashti, our vision is always focused on these different beads, the different names, the different shapes, the different colors, different sizes. All these we see in the process. We don't try to see that thread which binds all the beads. Bhagavan is trying to tell us that change our vision, see that one thread that binds all these beads, and don't see at the differences, but see that oneness behind all the differences. And that is why he starts with the Vibhuti Nirupana. So where we kind of try to see Bhagavan or the Lord in some different spaces or places, starting first from the idol worship, then going to see God everywhere in all the jivas, and then seeing Samagra, Sarvatra Samadarshana, Atma Darshana, Brahma Darshana, and having that Brahma Nishta. Bhagavan next is describing his Maya, and he says, Mama Maya, my own Maya, because it is Brahma Shraya. In Vedanta, Maya is always at the shelter of the Lord. That's why it is called Brahma Shraya. Bhagavan uses his Maya Shakti to create the universe. Duratyaya, Bhagavan says this is very difficult to understand, very difficult to comprehend. And this is the avidya, in the ignorance in the jiva, manifests as Maya in the Lord. So it's the same thing on an individual basis. It is avidya. On a samashti or the universal basis, it is the Maya. And in Vedanta, this Maya is called Mithya because it is perceived as an illusion. It is not that it is not existent, but it is not seen as it really exists. So it's seen differently. That's why it is called an illusion. Similar to a magician who creates a magic show and makes us all illusion. And that is similar to what Bhagavana is, the biggest magician who his entire world is created out of his magic. And to overcome this Maya, Bhagavan says it's difficult, but not impossible. We definitely need a lot of efforts, hard work to end this Maya. And the final solution to end this Maya is to understand this Atma Jnana. Bhagavan himself says, Mama eva ye prapadyante, one who comes to my shelter, Maya etam tarandite. Only that person gets across this Maya, which is, in all forms it is seen in this universe, Sat, Asat. And one who gets entangled in this Maya, he gets lost in this world. But one who takes the shelter of the Lord gets freed from this Maya, just like a fisherman when he creates a web, but the fish which is at the feet of the fisherman gets saved. Similarly, a Jeev who comes to the shelter of the Lord gets over from this Maya. Bhagavan says the only way you can get away from this Maya is by Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Gnana Yoga. And by the Krupa, by the grace of the Lord, his own Krupa, we can get over this Maya. Then Bhagavan says, who are the four types of people who worship him? Four types of Bhakta. He says, one Artha Bhakta, one who is in pain and miseries and calls for the Lord. Second is Artharthi, one who has a lot of desires for some wealth, possessions, greed in this world, wants to be fulfilled. That's why he goes and prays to the Lord in the temple. The third is the Jignasu, who wants to desire to know the truth. He wants to know what is that one thing that binds us, what is that one thing which is not seen, but something that is the foundation or adhisthana of this entire universe. And the fourth is the Gnani, the wise, one who's already obtained this Gnana. has become Nishkam, Sahaja, Nishprayojana, does not want anything from the Lord, just prays to the Lord for out of gratitude, that person is the Gnani Bhakta. And Bhagavan says, out of these four Bhaktas, the Gnani Bhakta is the best of out of all the four, because he's constantly connected to me. And that's why I love the Gnani Bhakta, and he's also very, very dear to me. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that is the understanding of the Gnani Bhakta, that ultimate goal of the human life is is to know that everything is God. Bahunam Janmanamante, after many births of spiritual journey, sadhana, we can understand this. It's a very long journey. We have to keep progressing. Shanai, Shanai, Dhire, Dhire, we have to keep progressing. It's only the human birth, Shastras tell us, that this sadhana is possible, this Sadguna Sampatti is possible. The pain and miseries that come along this human life are the wake-up calls for us. And journey comes to the end only when I know my true, real self. And it's up to me whether I want to have more births or what I want to create. So the misunderstanding on what is the true understanding, the essence of Upanishads is that for the Ishvara, Jiva and the Jagata, what we understand, the Vachyartha, is the Bheda Buddhi. Vachyartha means the Artha, the meaning that comes when the words are spoken. That Bhagavan is somebody who is sitting in the temple or sitting in the heaven or is incarnated or is born. This is how we understand. But Tatvik Swarupa, the Lakshyartha or the Abheda Swarupa, which is indicated as a meaning, not the real, but it's a real meaning, is Avyaya Nirguna Nirakar. Without any upadhis, Bhagavan is Nirguna Nirakar. Similarly, Jiva, as we understand, is one who is born, who grows, who dies, who is Karta, who is Bhokta, who is works, who enjoys. But ultimately, our Tatvik Swarupa is Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, which is nothing but Sat Chitan Ananda. Similarly, Jagata, as we see the world, we see lots of objects with different names and forms. But behind all this, Bhagavan says there is Asti Bhati Priya, the Sat Chitan, the Ananda, which binds everything. And this Tattva is the one, and this is the Advait Tattva. And this is the true understanding according to Vedanta. And why don't we understand this reality? Guru Maharaj tells us that it is because of the Dhrada Sanskara of Ishvara, where we see Bheda Buddhi, differences between the Jiva and the Ishvara. That amongst other Jiva, we have a Deha Sakti, we are identified with our body, and there is a Jagata, we are attached a lot to our objects in the world where we live, Vishaya Sakti. And because of these Dhrada Sanskaras of these Bheda Buddhi, Deha Sakti, Vishaya Sakti, we are not able to perceive the reality. And Raga and Dvesha are the main cause of all the maladies. The root cause is the ignorance of myself. Because of this, there is Raga Dvesha, which causes Moha. And unless we overcome this Moha, Bhagavan says, Yadate Moha Kalilam, we will not attain the purity of our mind. And only with Vairagya, softening of the Raga Dvesha happens. Bhagavan says, this Raga Dvesha are your biggest enemies. Tauhassa Paripanthinau, Tayorna Vashamagachet, don't come in that spell. He talks about in this Adhyaya, that how we can help ourselves. Let's come to the 8th Adhyaya, which is called the Akshara Brahma Yoga. It starts with Arjuna's question. He wants to know what is Brahma, what is Karma, what is Adhyatma, and Bhagavan gives the answers, talks about the Bhakti Yoga and the two paths of further onward Gati. So again, this talks about the devotion, how love, respect, reverence, and trust forms the basis of Bhakti towards the Lord, and the final goal is to Mukti. So only with this Bhakti we can achieve the Jnana. From Veda Buddhi we can go to Abheda Buddhi. Aksharam Paramam Brahma, Bhagavan says, this Akshara Brahma, the imperishable Avyaya Tattva, that highest Akshara Brahma Tattva is my real Swarupa, my Brahma Swarupa, not the names and the forms that you see, the different types of God. That is not my real Swarupa. My real Swarupa, Bhagavan says, is Chaitanya Atma Swarupa, and this is how we have to understand the Lord, and that is the Adhyatma Yatra. And how we can do this, Bhagavan says, Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Ma Manuswara Yuttacha. Do all your life and your next life and your life, be a bhakta, do your karma and do bhakti, nam smarana along with my karma. Finally, Bhagavan describes two onward journeys, the Uttarayana Marg and the Dakshinayana Marg. He says, where in one Marga we don't need to come back, another Marg we have to come back even after we, all this other gatis in the Swarg Loka, Brahma Loka, we have to come back on this Manushya Loka. So let's come to the 9th Adhyaya. The 9th Adhyaya essentially is called the Rajavidya, Rajaguhya Yoga. Rajavidya because it's the king of all the knowledge. It is the basis and the master of all knowledge. It relieves us from all the miseries, sorrows and death, and gives us the ultimate peace and satisfaction, Trupti. Rajaguhya, because it is a very best kept secret, highest secret. Everybody does not know it, does not understand it, because for this we have to go on an inner journey. Most of us are Bahirmukha, we all go out in the outer journey in this world. And for this, we need a help of a guru, scriptures, and the parampara. And that's why it is always Rajaguhya, it is always kept secret. In this Adhyaya, Bhagavan talks about the secret knowledge, its glory, the origin of this world, how Prakriti, Purusha criticizes the wicked, unfaithful people, shows the glories of the omnipresent Lord, benefits of bhakti, and the types of different bhakti. Bhagavan says, Yoga Kshemam Vahamyam, I carry all your desires. Arjuna, you don't worry. It tells all the jivas, you don't worry. I'm the one who will take care of all your desires, whatever you want to achieve, whatever you need to protect your achievements. You do your karma in the best possible way. Leave the rest to me. Karma phala, I'll give you whatever you deserve and you desire, even better than that. Bhagavan also shows us about devotion. He says how we can worship the Almighty. Patram pushpam phalam toyam. He says, I don't like big gifts. I just like patra, pushpa, phala or toya. Even water is okay. If you don't find a fruit or a flower, this, even if you worship me, I will accept all this gracefully. So it shows that Bhagavan he loves the emotions, the bhakti bhava, does not see the gift that we give, but he wants to impulsively, we yearn for outward happiness, but the devotion purifies and channelizes these emotions into the right direction towards the Lord. We become more broad-minded with our bhakti, mind becomes more still, and we can attain the Lord. Finally, Bhagavan says, Yat karoshi yat give me everything, all that you eat, all that you sacrifice, all that you donate, do tapa, Arjuna, all that you, everything, all your actions, tat kurushva madarpanam, you offer to me, that Bhagavan tells us, and how bhakti leads to moksha, freedom, Bhagavan tells us in this Adhyaya. Finally, in the final shloka, he gives us the message, Manmana bhava, put your mind in me, mad bhakta bhava, become my devotee, madhyaji, do all your karmas for me, mam namaskuru, bow down and surrender to me, and you will attain me always. With this, we come to the end of the 9th Adhyaya. So Vibhuti Yoga means we can start seeing the Lord from somewhere, start somewhere, and then we can see the Lord everywhere. Start from Saguna, some form, Vibhutis, then going to Vishwarupa, and then seeing the gods. Lord Sarvatra, Bhagavan has described his Vibhutis in short in 7th and 9th Adhyaya, but in this 10th Adhyaya, there is a detailed description. And then finally in the 11th Adhyaya, there will be the Vishwarupa Darshan, where the practical experience will be there. So understanding Ishvara as the Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana, as not just the instrumental cause, how God created the universe, but even the Upadana Karana, the material cause. The God manifests everywhere in this universe as a material cause, and both these forms of God are one, Abhinna, just similar to how a spider creates a web from his own saliva. So similarly, Ishvara creates the Jagata. Jagata again merges into the Ishvara. That is how it goes on. And this is how we have to understand our drashti parivartana. From a karana drashti, we see the karya drashti. Whenever we see the karya, we have to think of the karana. That is the differences. We have to see that one from which everything comes. Preraka drashti, how the energies come from the Lord, is the inspiration for everything. With this, we can see the Sarvatra, Ishvara or Vasudeva Buddhi. And in the Vibhuti, he starts describing his first Vibhuti. He says, Aham Atma Gudakesha, I am your Atma, Aham Chaitanya Paramatma, Sarva Bhutaya Sthita, I am the cause of this world. From me, everything arises. From me, everything merges, Bhagavan says. And finally, in the final shlokas, Bhagavan, after describing so many of his Vibhutis, he finally says, understand, what more do you want to know, Arjuna? He says, Ekankshena Sthito Jagata, from one small part, my Ansha, I behold this entire universe, Arjuna. Whatever you see in this world, you see me. And finally, in the 11th Adhyaya, Bhagavan is going to show now the practical experience of the Vishwarupa Darshana, vision of this cosmic form of the Lord, how we can see that God and this world is one and the same, the final understanding for us. For this, we need a pure mind in God consciousness with this purity. And Arjuna will also then see the other side of the Lord, not just the nice side, but the destructive side of the Lord also. So creation and destruction, we need to understand that in the world are the same part of the same Lord, two sides of the same coin. So Arjuna desires to see the Lord in his cosmic form. He says, please show me if you can. I want to see your splendor. Bhagavan says, yes, I will show you, Arjuna, but you need a Divya Chakshu. You need to see only with this, you will be able to see the Vishwarupa. Don't worry. I'll give you that Divya Chakshu with which you will be able to see my divine splendor. And then after seeing all the beautiful Vishwarupa, finally Bhagavan shows his destructive form, the violent form, how he creates destruction in this universe. And then Arjuna becomes very fearful. He asks Bhagavan, tell me what you are really. Tell me what is you in real. What are you? Bhagavan answers, Kalosmi lokakshaya pravritto. Lord says, I am death personified. I work to destroy the people. I am in action to massacre the people. And this is how we need to understand. Even in destruction, Lord has some purpose. And one who knows the Lord in this way would never fear the death. Journey towards death actually starts from birth. Creation, destruction are two sides of the same coin. If you see in the universe or in an individual self, life and death are similar events. But because of our mamatva, because of our attachments to our close, near and dear ones, we make this as a very big event. And invalid insistence, our stubborn attitudes are our biggest obstacles. And Bhagavan goes on to tell Arjuna, Tasmatvam Uttishta Yasholabhasva. Get up, fight this war, and Yasholabhasva, achieve the fame, get the honor. Because of my grace, you'll be able to, you have given this honor. Bhagavan says, Nimitta Matram Bhava Savya Sachin. Be an instrument. Arjuna, you have given this opportunity. Do your best. And these warriors have already been killed by me. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be a Nimitta Matra Bhava. This is the understanding that we need to have in this world. I am a Nimitta Matra, and all the others are also Nimitta Matra. I should not blame others for whatever happens to us. Try and forgive others. And this helps us to dissolve our ego, which is our biggest obstacle. There are many factors that affect the outcome apart from my efforts. And that's why I should learn to share the credit of appreciation that I get, the fame I get. And this helps me to accept a higher power in my life. And then Arjuna asks for pardon for his mistakes, which he may have done unknowingly. Says, Saketi matva prasabham yaduktam. Hey Krishna, hey Yadav, hey Saketi. Says, as my friend, I used to understand my words may have disrespected who. I probably didn't know that you are Vishwarupa, or out of laziness or either out of extreme affection. I may have hurt you. Please forgive me, he says. And Bhagavan tells Arjuna, only with bhaktya tvananyaya shakyam aham vido Arjuna. Only with one pointed devotion it's possible to see me in this form, Vishwarupa. Very few people have seen you. This Bhagavan says, and only devotion will make us eligible for this grace. Coming to the 12th Adhyaya, which is the Bhakti Yoga, very beautiful Adhyaya, how to connect to the divine. Bhagavan tells us that Samanya Krupa, Bhagavan, his grace is on everyone, but Vishesha Krupa is on the Bhakta. And that's why the first question of Arjuna was whether the Saguna Upasana is better to the form or Nirguna Upasana to the changeless, unmanifest Bhagavana. Which one is the Yoga Vitta? Who is the real knower of Yoga? Bhagavan answers, he says, Maya Veshya Manoyema, one who keeps your mind in me, Nitya Yukta Upasate, one who constantly devotes to me, Shraddhaya Parayopetaha, one who is filled with utmost faith, Teme Uktatamamataha. That is the most suitable yogi in my opinion, Bhagavan says, and he chooses the Saguna Upasana as it is a safe. From there he says Nirguna Upasana is quite difficult for most of the people who are identified with their body. And then he goes on to describe the Gnani Bhakta Lakshana, the 33 attributes of from the 13th to the 20th shloka. Tveshta Sarva Bhutana Maitra Karuna Evacha Nirmamo Nirahankara Samadukha Sukhas Shami. Describes beautifully all these Sadguna Sampatti which helps us for our change management, small goals which we can imbibe or inculcate in our life, and slowly and steadily keep pushing our limits, pursuing our goals with positive attitude, trying to make a change in our life for the better, and keep on doing this even if it creates pain, miseries, and with understanding that all the change is going to happen slowly. It's not easy to change our habits, but it is definitely possible. It requires repeated practice, abhyasa, to make this possible. So with this we come to the end of the 12th Adhyaya and beginning of the 13th Adhyaya, which is called the Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga, which is the crux of the message of Gita Ji and the Upanishada. The 13th Adhyaya now is after the 12th Adhyaya. The final 6 Adhyayas are the Aikya Gnana, the true knowledge, the Jiva Ishvara Aikya Gnana, which opening statement of Bhagavana, he shows Idam Shariram Kaunteya. This Sharira is a Kshetra. Kshetra is the field where we have an opportunity to do work and cultivate. This field means to do actions and cultivate our sanskaras. Bhagavan says, Etad Yoveti Kshetrajna. I am the knower, is the Kshetrajna of this field, Bhagavan tells. And then the second sloka is itself, Kshetrajnam Chapi Mam Vitti. All the Kshetrajna know that all the Kshetra are different, but the Kshetragna is only one, and I am the Kshetragna. Bhagavan says, Sharva Kshetretu Bharata, all the bodies, all the species. And this is the true knowledge Bhagavan describes, and this is almost like a Mahavakya Updesha, Aham Brahmasmi, that Bhagavan says, I am the Ishvara, and this is the complete unlimited. And then Bhagavan describes the Kshetra in a few shlokas, and before describing the Kshetragna, he describes the moral life values, the Sadguna Sampatti from the 7 to the 11 shlokas. Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantirarjavam, Acharyopasanam, Shaucham, Sairyamatma Virigraha, Indriyateshu Vairagya, Manahankara, Vacha, Janma Mrityu, Jaravyadi, Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. Beautiful description of all the Sadguna Sampattis, the moral values which are like Samanya Dharma, code of ethics for all of us. We all need to know it. And we have to, whatever I don't expect from others, I should not do to others. These are the ethical values which are to be imbibed in our life for change, and this is for us to look within ourselves. Essentially, Bhagavan is trying to then show us the Atma, Anatma, Viveka by creating different Viveka, Drak, Drashya, Viveka, different mechanisms which are described in Upanishads, the Jada, Chetana, Viveka, Prakriti, Purusha, Viveka, Kshetra, Kshetragna, Viveka. The main problem is that these are mixed. And that's why we understand that yes, I am this Jada as well as a Chetana, but we have to know that this is Sharira, Mana, Indriya, Buddhi, all this is Jada. Chetana is only my Atma Tattva, the Kshetragna is the Chetana. So this is the discrimination that we need, not only at individual level, but even in a samashti level, we need this discrimination to understand what is what. And the true vision is to see the unseen, Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu. With all this, when we see the one Lord uniformly, Vinashyatsu Avinashyatam, when we see this, the changeless in all the ever-changing bodies, this is Bhagavan says the true vision, which is also described in the Upanishads. And the benefits of seeing the same vision everywhere is, Bhagavan tells us that we don't hurt anybody and we can attain the highest path of the summons. Coming to the summary of the 14th Adhyaya, which is the Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the three gunas Bhagavan is describing, Sattva, Rajas and the Tamas, and he says all the attachment to this samsara is because of these three gunas. He describes the three gunas and shows how they work, and also describes the onward journey which is based on which guna is predominant. And finally, transcending the three gunas, he shows us the Trigunatita Lakshana. So the entire world is based on these three gunas. It comes from the Maya, the Prakriti, Jagata, all the jivas are also made up from these Maya, Prakriti, and that's why these three gunas are also in us. And they are the one which control our actions, our behaviors, and which make or break the people. So essentially, this is the understanding that we have. Bhagavan, after describing all the gunas, shows us how we have to transcend these three gunas and understand our Akarta Swarupa and become Trigunatita. So this is how Bhagavan makes us understand that these three gunas comes from the Maya, Jagata and the Jiva. All these are consisting of the three gunas. But my own Atma Chaitanya, my real self, is beyond the three gunas. It is Trigunatita, it is Akarta, Abhokta, Swarupa, and this is what I need to understand. So the crux of the message is to go from Tamasa to Rajasa, from Rajasa to Sattva Guna. The first teaching is to make our life Sattvika by practicing the spiritual journey where we inculcate Sattvic thoughts, actions, behavior, food, Sattvika Ahara, Sattvika Gnana, Swadhyaya, Gita, scriptures. And final teaching is to transcend these three gunas to understand our eternal self, the Atma Swarupa. So with this, we come to the end of the 14th Adhyaya. Now let's look at the 15th Adhyaya, which is also very famous, very well-known Adhyaya, Purushottama Yoga. After describing the Bhakti, Paramatma Tattva and the Trigunatmika, Bhagavan tells us what is that Purushottam in a short Adhyaya, 20 shlokas, well-known Adhyaya for memorization. Before we eat also, people memorize or chant this 15th Adhyaya. There are many subjects Bhagavan talks about, starting with the Sansara Vriksha, and he says Urdhva Mula. The roots are highest upward, the highest goal is Paramatma, the main branches are downwards, the Maya, Prakriti, and it keeps going on and on. Bhagavan says, Narupamasya Tathopalabhyata. The world is not truly as it appears, it is very different, Bhagavan says. And how can we get over this? He says, Asanga Shastrena Dradhena Chitva. Using the acts of Vairagya, unattachment, Asanga. We have to destroy the Sansar Vriksha with a firm resolve. And then finally what we need to do? Tatah Padam Tat Parimargitavyam. After that, destroying the Sansar Vriksha, we should try and attain the highest Tattva, Paramatma Tattva, which is very Sukshma, from where we don't have to come back. That is the final Paramatma Swarupa, Ishwararpana Buddhi, Ishwara Sharanagati. And then he describes the Jiva and its onward journey. Mamai Vansho Jiva Loke. This Jiva is my Ansha. It's one part of me. He says at the time of death, Jiva attracts the mind, the Sukshma Sharira, and with this it takes on the onward journey. Mama Eva Anshaha. The meaning is that we are not one small part and Bhagavan is a big part, but the Tattvik Swarupa, just like a Ghata and the Mati, the pot and the sand. The sand is the Bhagavana, the Ghata, all the different shapes, sizes, pots are like different Jiva, and the material cause is the Ishvara. This is the understanding of the Mama Evanshu Jiva Loke. And then Bhagavan also describes the onward journey of the death. After death, the Jiva, just like the wind carries the smell, Vayu Gandha Nivashaya, similarly the Sukshma Sharir, along with its mind and senses, after the body comes to an end, it goes and attains another body. This is what we need to understand. But how can this Jiva be freed from the bondage? Bhagavan says, only Vimudhana Anupashyanti, those who are mohit, they don't see this. Pashyanti Jnana Chakshusha, only the wise people will be able to see how we can come out from this bondage. Bhagavan says there is a Shara Purusha, there is a Akshara Purusha, but from both these separately, there is a Uttama Purusha, the third type, which is described in the Vedas. Bhagavan says, I am that Uttama Purusha, Purushottama, and this Bhagavan gives his introduction. So with this, we end the 15th Adhyaya and go to the 16th Adhyaya, which is called the Daivi Asuri Sampatti Vibhaga Yoga. Life is a combination of Daivi Sampatti and Asuri Sampatti. Daivi Sampatti are the moral values which are important for us to acquire. Asuri Sampatti are the devilish qualities in us which are derived from the Raja and the Tamaguna, and we should endeavor to discard them. And this can be life-changing for all of us. So first three shlokas, Bhagavan describes the 26 Daivi Sampatti, Abhayam Sattvasan Shuddhi, Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti, Danam Damascha Yagnascha, Swadhyaya Stapa Arjavam, Ahimsa Satyama Krodha, Tyaga Shantirapaishunam, Daya Bhuteshvalolutvam, Mardavam Hira Chapalam, Teja Kshama Dhruti Shaucham, Adroho Nati Manita, Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim, Abhijatasya Bharata. All these 26 Daivi Sampattis he describes, and then he describes the Asuri Sampattis, Dambha, hypocrisy, Darpa, arrogance, Abhiman, pride, Krodha, anger, Parushya, harsh words, Ajnana, ignorance. Bhagavan says these are all the demonical or the devilish qualities. Daivi Sampatti leads us to moksha. Bhagavan says Asuri Sampatti leads us to bondage, and that's why we have to understand what we want to do in our life. Only with this Daivi Sampatti we can become eligible for moksha. The spiritual journey starts with discarding the Asuri Sampatti, attaining the Daivi Sampatti, and then going on further on this path to attain Antakarana Shuddhi, Atma Gnana and moksha. So summary of the 16th Adhyaya, we should try to discard, leave Asuri Sampatti, imbibe Daivi Sampatti, and it is difficult to practice in life because of our strong Purva Sanskara, but we need a lot of constant awareness for this change management to happen, self-observation, introspection, and looking in it for our mirror. This is not for judging others, Bhagavan is telling us. Coming to the 17th Adhyaya, again it is a Shraddha Traya Vibhaga Yoga with the threefold types of faith. Shraddha is a very important, which leads us to our belief systems, our thoughts, which determines all our actions and all our actions. Bhagavan talks about Ahara, Yagna, Tapa, Dana, all the three types of Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, and finally describes the three names of Brahma, Om, Tat and Sat. So it starts with Arjuna's question, and then finally Bhagavan answers and describes all these three different types of Tapa, Gnana, Ahara, and finally Om, Tat and Sat. Coming to the penultimate Adhyaya, the 18th Adhyaya, which is a summary of the Gita Ji, it is called the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. Many different important subjects are there. It starts with Arjuna's question. He wants to know clearly what is Tyaga and Sannyasa, and Bhagavan answers saying that giving up karma is sannyasa, all sakama karma, all the sarva karma, whereas giving up the karma phala, the fruits of the action, is tyaga, that is the karma yoga. He essentially describes this, and then Bhagavan says what is sattvic tyaga. We should not give up our karma duties, but sangam tyaktva, we have to renounce our attachment to karma, and phalam tyaktva, we have to do our actions devoiding of the fruits of the action. Phalasakti is the sattvic tyaga. Then Bhagavan describes that karma should not be given up, the karma phala should be given up. He says for human beings it is not possible to renounce all actions, but we have to renounce the fruits of the action. That is the person who is a real tyagi. He describes the person who is a right understanding, describes what is Sattvic Gnana, where we have seen the oneness amongst all the divided things. He says that is the Sattvic Gnana. And he says, what is the Sattvic Karma? What we do, our Kartavya Karma, without attachment to results. Araga Dveshata, without our personal likes, dislikes. Aphala Prepsuna, without strong desires or expectations. And that is the Sattvic Karma. He also describes what is Sattvic Karta, one who does actions, Mukta Sangha, without any attachment to all this. Anaham Badi, without pride, gratitude. Dhruti Utsaha Samanvita, with patience, enthusiasm, and remains unperturbed. Samatva Buddhi, Prasada Buddhi. That person, a Karma Yogi, is a Sattvic Karta. Then describes what is a Sattvic Buddhi, which knows what to pursue, what to give up, where to do actions, where to not, what to do, have fear, where to be fearless, what is Bandha and what is Moksha. That person is a Sattvic. Then describes what is a Sattvic Dhruti, where we have a self-restraint by the practice of yoga. That is a Sattvic Dhruti. Then describes the Sattvic Sukha. And he describes not just Sattvic, but Sattvic, Rajasic and Tamasic, all the differences in the 18th Adhyaya. The Sattvic Sukha is one that is Agre Visham, which is difficult initially, but Aparinamya Amrutopamam, which eventually is like nectar. All the satsang, spiritual happiness, inner Sukh, inner Sattvic Ananda is all Sattvic joy. And then finally concludes this Prakarana saying that everything in this universe is consisting of three gunas. We have to go beyond these three gunas. And he says our journey should start from Karma Yoga, Tamabhyarcha, all our enjoined actions, our prescribed duties, we should worship to that Lord. Yatah Pravrutti Bhutanam, from where all these beings are created. Yena Sarvamidam Tatam, by whom this entire universe is pervaded. The Upadana Karana. To this Ishvara we should Tamabhyarcha, we should worship all our actions. Finally, in the three shlokas, Bhagavan describes the Gnana Sadhana, how to become eligible for this Gnana Sadhana by Karma Yoga. Again describes and summarizes the Dhyana Sadhana, which is described in the 6th Adhyaya, how we can become, meditation can become our priority, Dhyana Yoga Paranityam. And finally, the Tyaga Sadhana, what we have to give up, our Ahankara, Bala, Krodha, Parushya, Nirmama, and then we become Shant, quiet, and we become eligible to attain the Ishvara Tattva. And finally, Bhagavan describes how we are dependent on the Lord Ishvara. Sarva Bhutana Mriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Bhagavan says, I'm sitting inside the heart of all the beings as Ishvara, as Antaryami, and Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani, making all the beings revolve, go round and round, Yantra Rudhani Maya, by my own magic, as if they are sitting on a machine. And finally, Bhagavan concludes the entire message of Gita in 2 shlokas. Pravrutti Marga description, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto, Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru, Mame Vaishyasi Satyam Te, Pratijane Priyosi Me. This is the culmination of the Pravrutti Marga message, how we can devote to the Lord, Ishwararpana Bhavana, Karma Yoga, Sharanagati to the Lord. With this Smarana constant, Bhagavan says, you shall attend me only, they are so dear to me. There is, and finally, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshishyami Ma Shucha. The Nivrutti Marg message, finally renouncing everything, go to the shelter of the Lord. Bhagavan says, I shall relieve you of all sins and will attain moksha. Don't worry, Mashucha, don't grieve, Arjuna. And Bhagavan finally is describing who is Adhikari for this knowledge. One who has some kind of tapa, bhakti, or one who has shravana, and one who does not have asuya, does not find faults in the Lord, is the Adhikari for this kind of knowledge. Arjuna accepts and surrenders to the Lord Krishna and says, Nashta Moha, my delusion has been destroyed. Tvat Prasadat, with your grace, Smriti Labnava, my senses have come back, I've understood my real self. Now I'm steady, I don't have any sandeha, doubts, and I shall do what Karishye Vachanam Tava Bhagavan, I shall do whatever you tell me to do. And this finally, the final shloka of the Gita Ji, 78th shloka of the 18th Adhyaya, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Patho Dhanutara, Tatra Shri Vijayor Bhuti, Dhruvani Tirmati Mama. Sanjay concludes by stating a fact to Dhritarashtra. Wherever there is Lord of Yoga Krishna, wherever there is an ace archer like Arjuna, that itself is Shri, wealth, victory, Vijaya, Bhuti, all the accomplishments, Dhruvaniti, the unflinching strategy. And this is my further firm opinion. Sanjay was keen to avoid further destruction so that Dhritarashtra may understand and avoid the further destruction of the Mahabharata Yuddha, but because of Moha, Dhritarashtra allowed the battle to continue. And the understanding is, wherever there is Arjuna, ace archer means Karma Yoga, grace of the Almighty like Lord Krishna, success is definite, and this is what we should endeavor. So coming to the end of Sri Bhagavad Gita, which is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. Life of Shri Krishna was lived by his own principles that he preaches. It provides us with a new understanding, a new worldview, relieves us of all the pain, miseries of day-to-day life, gives us ever bliss, tells us how we can connect to our roots, how we can know our real self, and we should allow Krishna to be the charioteer of our life, surrender to his grace, and with this we can obtain the divine prasadam. So I'm dedicating this to Ishvara Krupa, Guru Krupa, through which I'm able to share this, understand this, Shastra Krupa, with which I'm able to understand the Shastra, Atma Krupa, help from all you seekers who allowed me to do these efforts from my side to understand this and share this understanding with you. And with this, we come to the end of the 18th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. It is customary to recite Adhyaya Pushpika at the end of each Adhyaya. Here we'll recite it. Om Tat Saditi, the three names of Supreme Brahma, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu, Bhagavad Gita, which is the essence or the summary of the Upanishads, Brahma Vidyayam. It imparts the knowledge of Brahma Vidya, the eternal truth, the divine truth. Yoga Shastra, with the help of Yoga Shastra, the means to attain this goal of Brahma Vidya, all the Yoga Shastra, the Karma Yoga, the Dhyana Yoga, the Bhakti Yoga, all these Yoga Shastra, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, which is a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga Nama Ashtadashodhyaya, the 18th chapter called the Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, that comes to an end. It is customary to recite the last shloka of Gitaji, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Mokshishyami Ma Shucha, which is the final message of the Lord. With this, we come to the end of this session. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parah Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.